Good evening, Jacket Nation. Welcome to another episode of Catch a Buzz. My name is Ryan King with my co-host and brother Sean King. We're here just to give you our quick thoughts on the Syracuse Tech game. It's late Friday night. We're a little late on this, but wanted to get something out before the game, just to give you a point of reference for our reaction after the game. Win or loss, we'll see how it goes. We're here to break down how we feel it's going to go tomorrow at noon kickoff up at the Carrier Dome, JMA Wireless Dome, whatever it's called. But
Hard bucks.
but Sean, I just wanted to go ahead and kick it to you, and we're going to start out talking about our thoughts on Syracuse just after 1 week under a new coach. It's really all we have to go off of. So we'll get started with Syracuse, and then we'll give our thoughts on Tech, and then we'll work our way into a prediction for how we think the game is going to go at the end of the video. So Sean, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, before coming into this pod, I was doing some research on last year, but didn't really make sense when you see the new coach coming in and then they didn't have a quarterback for the last 4 or 5 games of the year. So I mean, obviously a big game for Syracuse after going 2-6 in the conference last year. So they're gonna try and improve, whatever they can get there. Um a weird stat I found, they rushed for 172 yards a game last year and passed for 171. You'd think those rushing yards would be, a little higher up since they didn't have a QB for almost half the year. But as far as what I like about Syracuse, obviously their whole offense goes through McCord, Ohio State transfer. Start the game, I think, as Tech fans, we were feeling, okay, this is a good sign. But I think you also had to go in it with an open mind, new scheme, new system for him, probably. Um, he's going to go into that game starting off a little slow. Looks like he found his stride in the second half. I think he threw for a little over 350. So strong showing from him. They've also got LaQuint Allen as their starting running back. I don't think a ton of other people get splits. I think he's pretty much their main guy. He does a little bit out of the backfield as well. Supposed to be a pretty good runner. As far as passing game goes, I think they've got a couple good wide receiver. Tight end, Gadsden. I'm pretty sure he was their quarterback when we played him last year,
Great player. Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, which I think you'll get into tight ends.
Yeah. I think they have a really dynamic offense. It's going to be the first real test of the year for the Jackets secondary. They're going to want to throw the ball around with McCord. That's going to be their bread and butter the entire season. You've got Gadsden as the tight end, and their receiver, Trevor Pena. That's his name. He had a great week one. I assume that he's probably going to be McCord's primary target going forward for the rest of the year. They brought in Jackson Meeks from Georgia, who didn't get a lot of playing time there. He probably came with Fran Brown. I think he's second on the depth chart at one of the receiver positions. I don't know how much playing time he's going to get, but that just kind of goes into it's similar to Georgia State and how Syracuse brought in 40 plus transfers, I think, coming into this year, which makes it really hard to get a gauge on what sort of team they're going to be. There's so many changes from last year to this year. The only benefit is that as opposed to Georgia State, you at least get a week of game film to go off of.
Correct.
So I think their offense is going to present a really big test to the Jackets defense, probably the biggest of the season thus far, especially after just seeing how one-dimensional Florida State was. They weren't able to throw the ball around until that last touchdown drive. I think the game presents the opportunity for the Jackets to really get punched in the mouth early if they're not ready for what Syracuse is going to throw at them. So I think that Warren Burrell, Amari Harvey, Rodney Shelley, Omar Daniels, the whole secondary is going to have to be ready to get attacked for the first quarter. That's
Yes.
the only way that you're going to get them to back off of that
Like I said,
philosophy.
I'm almost more worried in the pass game this week. Last season, it would have been all right. Whatever we got to do to stop the run, let's do it. If
Yep.
they get a big play, I don't care. I want to see us stop the run.
Yep.
And after, Georgia State had, they didn't do awful on the run. I think we could have done a better job, but I think McCord's arm is going to be what can screw us. But I think he did have about 4 balls that should have been intercepted last week versus Ohio, if Ohio's defense had any hands in the secondary. So if you're looking at Tech, I think you just find ways to kind of blur McCord's vision and trying to get him to throw balls where, and I think Tooch has done a good job at disguising coverages. I think we need to play man, but I don't think we need to be playing man on third and longs. I think we need to, I like how he brings the pressure, but I think we need to be conservative on some downs, and some downs bring it. But it seems like all year long, he's just been bringing the house on third down and just leaving our guys on an island, and it's worked and hasn't worked. So
Yeah, I agree. This is one of those situations though that I actually feel like he probably should be letting them play man on third down more often than not. I think where he should be a little more conservative is maybe on second downs. I'd like to see pressures. I'd like to see more blitzes on first downs, instead of playing very
yeah,
conservative
agreed.
there and getting to McCord early in the set of downs, trying to fluster him a little bit. Even if it's just dialing up run blitzes, if they're running some play action, maybe you can get in his face, force him to make some mistakes. And then on third down, I actually feel like it's something that we didn't do as much in the Georgia State game. It felt like we were sitting back a lot in coverage, and it might be part of the reason that they were able to rack up some of the yardage that they did was the lack of aggressiveness getting at the quarterback. I mean, we had no sacks. He was getting it out quick, but we had no sacks. Didn't really feel like we were putting a lot of pressure on him. So I'd like to see that ramp back up for this game, especially with a dynamic quarterback like McCord. I've seen a lot of people. I think he's more dynamic than it may read on the stat sheet because he was at Ohio State last year, but he can definitely hurt you with his legs if he's put in a situation where he has to.
Yeah,
So
it's
you've
just
got to
one
contain
game.
him. Yeah, I think he had negative rush yards against Ohio, thanks to a sack,
I
but
also
he
doubt
was
that they
also
were
throwing for
trying to run
350
him a
yards.
lot.
That's the
They
thing.
probably weren't even
He
trying to
threw for
run it.
350 yards, so it's not like they're trying to run him. He wasn't really put in situations where that was a necessity. And that I would love if Tech's defense is able to make that a necessity to take away downfield throws. I really liked Warren Burrell's interview this week that he gave during media availability. He was just talking about how excited him and Amari were to be facing a pass first offense and how this is what they live for. This is what they make their name
Yeah, they're
off
hungry
of
for it
is
for sure.
that they're hungry for it. And I think Amari Harvey is already putting himself in a position to potentially be like a first team all ACC guy. I mean, the way that he's tackling, the plays that he's making, if he's able to perform the same way in coverage, he's going to be a very, very dynamic defensive player for Georgia Tech. And he's already making his name known. And I think Warren Burrell has the same opportunity to as well. He's clearly not giving anything up. You never hear anything about him. He made a couple of nice tackles against Georgia State this past week. And I think as you brought up in the last episode that we did, Rodney Shelley could have a really big game, especially in the return game. I would
Oh
love
yeah,
for a I would love for a big special teams play maybe this week where maybe Syracuse drives a little low liner punt and Shelley's back there because you could see flashes in that Georgia State game of how dynamic he could be in the return game. So that's something that excites me. I'm hoping that we get to see more of that this week if the defense is able to force some quick stops, put them in punting situations, which we're going to have to do. We've got to make them punt or we've got to make them turn the ball over, one of the two, ideally both. But
I definitely don't want this game to be. I have a good feeling it's going to be tied at half. We're just going to have to make the necessary changes. What I don't want to see, I do want to see us get pressure on the quarterback. I don't want to see us getting too far upfield and getting out of position and then not being able to come back and fill your gap when quarterback tries to cut in and do a QB draw. Because I think we got
yep.
caught up with that a little bit last week in the Georgia State game. I think he had a couple decent runs for a first down. So just play sound football. And I think we've only seen 2 weeks of Tucci's defense. So, I mean, has he massively improved from last year? Of course. And I think there's still a lot more to be, seen from Tucci. So I'm excited about it. Like you said, I do think it's more about our secondary, how they play. They've shown they can do it. It's just got to come with their A game.
I completely agree. With that being said, I'd like to pivot a little more towards, we've been focusing on Tech, but I want to pivot a little more towards the offensive side of the ball for the Jackets. I feel like that's really going to be what determines the outcome of this game is how the Jackets offense performs against Syracuse's defense, specifically in the running game. Syracuse gave up over 250 yards rushing to Ohio last week, over 200 yards just to one guy. It's hard to imagine Tech not being able to at least match what Ohio did last week, knowing that that's going to be their philosophy coming into the game.
They are going to stack
Especially,
the box.
they're going to stack the box. I think, and honestly, there's a part of that that even excites me a little bit because if they're able to take away the run early, it's going to force Tech. It's going to force Buster Faulkner to open up the playbook. I don't think Tech's done that at all year. They've had
Not at
no
all.
reason to. They were able to run the ball down Florida State's throat. I'm sure that in that game, if the run got shut down, like even Tech may have been expecting for the run to get shut down, and they had the entire playbook behind to counter that. That Florida State was never able to stop it, so they never had to go to it. Georgia State was more of the same. You were just able to run the ball. You actually threw it more against Georgia State than you did against Florida State, which is wild. But I think this could be a game where you really see, and it could also be dependent on the defense. If Syracuse comes out and is and Kyle McCord slinging it all over the place, and you get into a bit of a shootout, your hand might be forced a little bit into this. But I saw someone from a Syracuse reporter, media member, talking about how if they shut down the run, you've either got something about you got to force Haynes King to throw it, or you got to make him run, and he's not a dual threat quarterback, which was hilarious to me. I mean, absolutely hilarious. Like, you must have never watched a game of football
No,
played by the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets.
they've
If
never
that's what you
watched
think,
Haynes King play football. They've
if
never
that is
watched
what you
Haynes
think,
King play football.
it was one of the craziest things I've ever heard. But
And
if that's the
and
way that their team thinks, I'm very excited.
and you go on social media and you say, "Who's this non?" You see all this dude's non-athletic. It's like
When he runs
they
a
just
10-5
obviously don't know Georgia Tech
so,
football. Yeah, so
so you'll see how
it's
unathletic he is.
yeah. I definitely think Buster. There's been no reason to show. I mean, he's obviously shown last year he can throw the ball. I mean, Haynes threw for what 24,
Over
27
2,700.
touchdowns and
Yep, 27 touchdowns.
2,700 yards. And I mean, I think part of that's trying to keep Haynes from making stupid mistakes and, throwing in, interceptions that aren't needed in week 2, especially against Georgia State. Like you said, you're able to run the ball. I mean, do I think we're going to do the same thing this week at the beginning? Yeah, I think we're going to impose our will on the line and try and shove it down their throats and see if they can stop it. And if not, I think, this is definitely the week you need to open up the playbook in a big ACC matchup.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like you're ranked for the first time. You're 23rd, first time in 9 years. And I think a lot of people, at least from what I've seen around the country, non-Tech fans, have really felt as though the ranking may be unwarranted because you wouldn't beat Florida State, but then Boston College goes to Tallahassee and beats them even worse. So I've seen a lot of people saying that, they don't believe in Tech. It was kind of a fluke that they went over there and beat them because Florida State isn't who we think they were. This is a game where you can come out and make a statement and say, no, we bullied Florida State in Ireland on both sides of the ball. We dominated them. And we're going to show you exactly how we dominated them by doing that to every other team that we play going forward. Yep. And this is where that starts. Because you got that big win, and thankfully you are getting that national recognition regardless of what Florida State has done since then. But that'll all go away if you come out here and lay an egg in Central New York this week. So
then they'll really think that it is unwarranted.
Everyone will think that, and it'll be so much. I mean, you could come out and win the next 5-6 games, and they may not rank you. If you come out and lay an egg this week and Florida State keeps, circling the drain. But it's a very, very big game for Tech to kind of show the country. I mean, I know that they come out every week and they're playing for themselves. They're playing for their teammates. They're just playing their asses off week in and week out. So I don't think they care about any of this type of stuff. But for the rest of us just out in the world of being a fan, it is very important for Tech to come out and impose their will against a Syracuse team, especially defensively, that has shown they shouldn't be able to keep up with you.
Agreed. I think in the passing game, specifically, I'd like to see crossers, deep drags, whatnot, against what seems like kind of depleted linebacker core for Syracuse. I think they got one good guy still left, but they're all ACC. His name Max.
What, on defense for them?
Yeah, they're stud linebacker, all ACC. I think he got hurt last week. Yeah. So, I mean, I think we could have beat Georgia State by 50. But like I said, I just think Buster wasn't willing to open up the playbook yet. So it's just more of trying to find a way to get guys open, and like you said, that all starts with the run.
Yeah, it 100% starts with the run, and the reason that I fully believe that this playbook hasn't been opened is because the team from top to bottom on the offensive side of the ball is just more talented than they were last year.
More depth.
Scyther getting hurt at tight end sucked before the Florida State game.
Yeah.
And we're all kind of sitting here like, okay, well, who's behind him on the depth chart? Who's going to be backing him up? And then you realize it's like, oh, well, Avery Boyd shifted from wide receiver to tight end. And that dude runs like a fucking Mack truck. Pardon my French. Runs like a Mack truck every time he gets the ball. He looks like he put on 20 pounds and he's still running a 4.5 40. I mean, he has been a shining star so far, along with every other tight end on the team that transfers. Jackson Hawes, Rylan Godey, I don't think has gotten as much playing time, but Jackson Hawes has been spectacular.
And I don't think he's caught a single pass.
Yeah, he may have one catch on the year that I don't even remember, but he is been spectacular. And
on the
You've got
line.
that on top of bringing back your receiving core that was already great with Singleton and Rutherford, Chase Lane. Well, Leo Blackburn hasn't even had to make an impact yet.
Wait, where has Christian Leary been?
No idea. I have absolutely no idea, and I think that may be in part because
On
we're running the ball 80% of the time.
dude, on NCAA 25, I won the Leary won the Heisman on my team. So I'm trying to equate how this is not equating to real life.
Yeah, that's actually a good question because I don't think I've heard his name called once this year.
No, it's been Chase, Malik, and Eric.
Eric, and that's it
And
basically.
then
Leo got
and
called
then I
for
mean Leo's got
BS holding
mhm.
on that Haynes
Which
kick touchdown.
it's been funny to listen to Key because I think he agrees it's BS, but he just keeps saying in his
He just doesn't
pressers,
want to get fined.
well, no, he just keeps saying we teach our guys, how to block a certain way. We block to the whistle, and we finish. And
Yeah,
I can't remember. I think he said something in the coach's show. I was just watching it earlier. I can't remember what he said, but it was funny.
yeah, he did bring it up in the coach's show. I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was it has been nice. Side note, it has been nice to see him lighten up a little bit with old Andy Dimitra. Because if you go
Dude,
back
that
and
first week was so
you go
brutal.
back and watch that coach's show before the Florida State game, it's one of the most awkward videos you'll ever watch. It's like he hates his guts.
Just constantly on his phone and
On his phone, Dimitra will ask a question. He's like, "Huh? What'd you say? Oh, that's a dumb question. Save that for Kelly."
yeah, right.
But yeah, I think with all that being said, we can go ahead and move into our prediction section of this video. I'll let you go ahead and lead it off, Sean. Maybe I'll, depending on how
Oh,
things go, I may.
all right. What do we have? Over is 56. Hold up. Let's pull this up real quick.
Yeah, go ahead and get up. Yeah, get up the spread. Last time I looked at the spread, it was 2.5. I heard it may have gone up to 3 or 3.5.
Like I said, I'm not a betting man.
I'm not a betting man. My brother here is certainly a betting man. So if you want to take anybody's advice, take his. But
I'm
no,
a
don't take his. We don't give unsolicited betting advice. So
I'm a cheap. Oh my gosh, it's up to all right. So the over's up to I think it was like 55 earlier this week. It's now 61, and now Tech is favored by 3 instead of 2.5.
okay, 3 is the last I heard. So that makes sense.
So I picked Tech to win by at least 6. So I think it's going to be the under. I think Tech's going to do a good job on running the ball. I think they're going to control a lot of the clock like they did for Florida State. I'm hoping our defense can get off the field and give the ball right back to our offense and just chew this first half out. I think we go into the half up 17-3.
Wow. Okay.
And I think Syracuse battles back. We have trouble running the ball. We have trouble passing the ball, getting into the passing game for the third quarter. I think they come back, make it 17-14, and then we go down the field, score a late touchdown, 24-14 final.
All right. I've kind of gone back and forth how I think this game is going to go. Whether it's a bit more of a shootout if our secondary isn't able to shut down the Syracuse offense, or if it'll be a bit of a slower pace game where Tech controls the line of scrimmage, runs it down to their throats, it's low scoring.
Hold up. 31-14.
Oh, Sean's going big here. Okay.
Yeah,
I like that.
31-14.
I like that. I feel like I'm a little bit in between of what I was saying. I I think that Tech is going to control this game, but I think that Syracuse is going to, they're going to hit a big play or two against the secondary, because I think that Tech is going to control the line in the first half, as Sean said, and I think they're going to put them in a position where they've got to throw it all over the field. So a couple of those big plays might hit. I am also going to take the under. I think it's going to be a little bit closer, but Tech is still going to cover. And my prediction is that Tech is going to win 31-23.
Okay, so we're close.
Yeah, we're pretty close. I think that Syracuse will score a little more than Sean thought, but I guess it's basically just field goals. So I think that the
Wait,
defense,
yeah.
the defense showed a lot against Georgia State in those, I think, 3 possessions that were inside the 10-yard line where they held Georgia State to 3 points. I know Syracuse isn't Georgia State, but it showed a lot in terms of the little bit of that bend don't break mentality when they get put in those tough situations, that they can bow up and make some plays. So I think that, and I think it's a pretty comfortable 31-23. I actually think it's something where Tech may be up like a 31-13 and at the start of the fourth even. I think Tech's going to be fully in control of this game. I think it could be like a 31-13, and then Syracuse gets a field goal start of the fourth. Tech drives down the field, maybe doesn't get any points, and then Syracuse scores like a touchdown with a couple minutes left. But I think that Tech should control this game. I think they're going to want to go out there and make an absolute statement, and I think that's what they're going to do.
I like it. I'll be more than blessed to be able to be at work tomorrow, so I'm gonna do my best to watch this game. But I'll be interested to see, man. It should be a good battle. Hopefully, we're able to prove the doubters wrong on our 23rd rank and come out of here with a victory in the fart box.
That's right, man. Just got to get out of the fart box smelling clean as a whistle. So we'll see how it goes tomorrow. We'll be back with an update for you guys, but until then, go Jackets.
Go Jackets. Y'all go.